Hello and welcome to my Basic Ballet for Beginners video. If you are brand new to ballet or you have recently just started taking ballet classes, then this video is for you. The video will cover ballet positions, terminology and steps, and I hope that it will help to develop your confidence and understanding of the ballet class. If you would like more in-depth information about specific steps from the ballet class, then don't forget to subscribe to my channel where you will find lots of tips on ballet technique videos. So let's get started with my 9 top tips for basic ballet for beginners. Tip 1 in my basic ballet for beginners is the 5 main positions for the legs and feet. In a classical ballet class, you will come across 5 main positions for the legs and feet. You will have first position. For the first position, your heels should be together and your toes are pointing outwards. All 10 toes should be on the floor. If you take a battement tendu to the side and lower the heel, this is your second position. Again, you need to have all 10 toes on the floor and you are aiming to have your knees over your toes. If you really think about rotating from the backs of your legs, this can help you to find more turnout. For the third position, this is where the front foot is in front of the back foot. Now, your front heel should be in line with the middle of your back foot. For fifth position, you simply cross that leg over even more, so now my front heel is in line with my back toes. For the fourth position, you can now take your tendu to the front and lower your heels. And your front heel is still in line with the back toes, but you now have more of a gap between the legs. Tip 2 in my basic ballet for beginners, 5 main positions for the arms. In a classical ballet class, you will come across 5 main positions for the arms. You will have first position. First position, for me, should be in line with your belly button, and there should be a little gap between your 2 fingertips. You then have second position, where you open the arms out to the side. Remember that your arms shouldn't go behind your body. If you look straight ahead and just wriggle your fingers, you should be able to see them in your peripheral vision. If you can't, then it's likely that your arms are too far behind you. You should also think about the fingertips being slightly lower than your shoulders. So if you imagine a drop of water trickling down your arm, it should drop off the end of your fingertips. If your hands are too high or your elbows are dropped, then the water wouldn't be able to run down your arms. After second position, you will then have third position. So basically that is one arm in first position and the other one in second position. I would really encourage you though to think about a connection between both of your fingertips. From here, you can take one arm up and this is your fourth position. Make sure that your top arm isn't too far behind you and your side arm isn't too far behind your second. And finally, you have your fifth position. Again, you can do the fingertip test. So if you can see your fingertips wriggling, then you know that your arms are correctly placed in front of you and not too far behind your head. I would always encourage you to have a little gap between your fingertips, and I was always taught that that should be the width of your eyes. Bonus tip on other positions that you might like to know. You can have what is called a B+. So this is where if you started in your fifth position, you would take the back leg behind you. So if I show you from this side, so the knees are together and you're pointing your back foot. The other position that you will come across is your feet in parallel. Now some teachers call this the 6th position. When your feet are in parallel, you still need to actively work the backs of your legs. There is a slight rotation to ensure that your knees are staying over your toes. Don't just let them relax inwards this way. So you still actually have to work in the backs of the legs, even when your legs are standing in parallel. You can also have what is called bra bar position. Now, this position is often used at the beginning and the end of exercises. So for the bra bar position, again, you still have a little gap between your two fingers and you are actively rotating in your arms, so don't let the elbows come back this way. From the side, there should be a little gap between your body and your fingertips. You can also have what's called demi-second, and this is often used in conjunction with B+. So for example, you're standing here and the arms from the bra bar, you just open them slightly, keeping the curved shape in both of the hands and as well keeping the connection between both of your fingertips. Tip 3 in my basic ballet for beginners is ballet class etiquette. Holding on to the bar. Make sure that you're not standing too close to the bar. So if you are facing the bar, your elbows shouldn't be sticking out behind your body. Your hands should be comfortably placed in front of you, inside of your body, so make sure that the hands are not too wide when you're holding on to the bar. If you're standing sideways to the bar, your hand should be in front of your body and not directly to the side. This will help you to engage your important back muscles and also help you to have correct weight placement. Make sure that your hand isn't gripping the bar. It should just be placed nice and relaxed on top of the bar. Remember, the bar is there to help you and to support you, maybe helping you a little bit more with your balance. If you find that you're really gripping onto the bar, it is likely that your weight placement is too far back or perhaps too far over to the side. So again, your hand should be nicely relaxed on the bar and you're just using the bar to help you in your bar work. When you have finished your exercise on one side of the bar, it is likely that the teacher will ask you to turn around and to start again on the other side of the bar. For this, you always turn towards the bar. So if you have an exercise with your right leg and you've finished here and you're turning on towards the other side, you will always turn towards the bar. Try not to stand too close to somebody, both at the bar and in the centre. You want to try and feel like you have space when you are dancing. Unless instructed by the teacher, I would try and stand in the gap if you're working in the centre and try not to stand directly behind or in front of somebody. From a teacher's perspective, I find it easier to spot mistakes and to pick up on corrections in my students if they're stood slightly further away from me. If you're working in small groups from the corner, then again make sure that you start with enough space between each of the dancers. It can really help if you get yourself ready before you're about to start, otherwise it can always feel a little bit rushed if you're starting something from the corner. When you finish dancing on the corner, then you simply walk to the back of the studio ready to start on the other side. It is best practice not to walk in front of other dancers and to try not to walk across the front of the studio. I would always encourage my students to walk across the back so you're not disturbing the teacher's eye line and also not getting in the way of the other dancers in the classroom. Before your ballet class starts, it's quite common to come in and to find your own place at the bar. If somebody has already found their place at the bar, then it's common courtesy not to stand in the same place. Don't be surprised if students that have been coming to your ballet class for a while get quite territorial over their bar space. It's quite common for people to like a particular place at the bar and like to stand there week on week. A little bit like if you're on a train and somebody always sits in the same seat. So don't worry if that happens. I always encourage my students to try and move around the bar a little bit, not necessarily in the same class, but if I start to see a student finding a place at the bar that they like to stand after a couple of weeks, I tend to ask them to move into a different place. And the reason for this, again, from a teacher's point of view, if a student is standing in a different place at the bar, you can spot different things that you might not see from a different angle. So if you're the student in the class, then I would encourage you to move move around the bar a little bit rather than finding just one place that you like and get comfortable in. Most ballet classes will finish with a reverence, and the curtsy or bow can really depend on the teacher. But it is common courtesy at the very end of the ballet class to go up and thank the teacher, and if you're lucky enough to have a musician, to thank the musician personally as well. Tip 4 in my basic ballet for beginners is some basic steps that you might like to know for the bar. We'll start with a demi-plie. So you can do the demi-plie in all of the positions that we talked about earlier. Starting in the first position for the demi-plie, you start by bending the knees. You want to make sure that your knees stay over your toes for the full duration of the demi-plie. From here you stretch the legs to come back together. And you can do this in the second position. You can also do this in the third position, in the fourth position, and of course you can do your demi-plie in the fifth position as well. The main thing with the demi-plie is to remember that the knees need to stay over your toes and that you're actively rotating in the backs of the legs for the full duration of the plie. You will also come across a battement tendu. So for a battement tendu, it is important that you keep your feet on the floor. So let me have a look from the first position. If I was going to do a battement tendu to the front, I would keep my foot on the floor, keeping the back of my knee nice and straight to the fully stretched leg, and then from here you close it back into your desired position. And you can do your battement tendu to the front, to the side, and you can also do your battement tendu to the back. In. You can do your battement tendu from any of the positions, but it is likely when you first start that you will go from the first position and maybe from the third position as well. You will also come across a rond de jambe, which is a circular action with the leg. So again, let us look at that from the first position. I will take my arm to second. So for a rond de jambe à terre, which basically means a rond de jambe on the floor, I will start with a battement tendu to the front. I then take that leg out to my second position, and then I will continue all the way around to the back before closing back in to the first position. So my foot is going to stay in contact with the floor for the full duration of the rond de jambe, and then it closes back in. You can also do that the other way, so you can take your battement tendu to the back, you can then rotate as it comes round to the second, keeping the heel on top as you come to the front, and then close it back in to the first position. It is likely, again, that you will do your rond de jambe from the first position, and the main thing to remember is that the foot will stay in contact with the floor, and as you bring the leg back through to the first position, just be careful that you're not allowing your knees to bend. That's quite common, I see that quite a lot. So as you close in, make sure both knees are staying nice and straight as you pass through that first position. You may come across a développé, which basically means to unfold. So for a développé, it is likely that you will start in either the third or maybe build up to the fifth position. For a développé, I'll start in the third position for you. You peel the foot off the floor, the foot will then come to the knee. You keep rotating the leg, keeping the heel on top as you extend the leg out to the front, battement tendu down, and then you'll close everything in so it arrives together back in your desired position. And of course for your développé you can do this in all of the positions, front, side, and of course you can build up to the développé at the back. But it's the same thing, it comes up to the knee. You then keep the rotation, working the backs of the legs out to the back, battement tendu, and then close in. And of course, when you first start ballet, you don't have to have your leg at 90 degrees. You can do a développé much, much lower, but I would still come up to the knee, and then from here you can just extend the leg so it's just off the floor. The main thing to remember as you're extending the leg, that you keep your heel on top and you keep both legs actively working for the full duration of the développé. You may also come across what is called grand battement, which is a throwing action of the leg. And don't be put off, again, you don't have to have a really high leg to do a good grand battement. The main thing to remember with a grand battement is the action and giving it a bit of oomph to help you get it off the floor. The leg is going to go through the battement tendu position, and the more you use the floor, the more rebound you will get to be able to lift the leg. And again, you can do a grand battement to the front. You can also do a grand battement to the side, and of course you can do a grand battement to the back. And you can see that it's a quick action to the front. You're going to use the floor to help you to get your leg off the floor. But you don't have to have it high when you're first starting. I would maybe keep it a little bit lower, and of course you could do it facing the bar to help you to keep your hips and your posture in line. Tip 5 in my basic ballet for beginners are steps that you might come across in your centre practice. The first one that you are likely to come across is a port de bras, and this is an excellent way to just focus on the movement of your arms. If you're doing a port de bras, make sure that you're going through each position correctly. For example, if you were starting in the 5th position and you needed to get to bras barre, you wouldn't just bring the arms down. They would either go through your 2nd position and down back to your bras barre, or from the 5th, they would go through your 1st position and back to bras barre. I mean, there's lots of different ways that you can do the port de bras. There's infinite ways that you can do it, but the main thing to remember is that it has to go through the correct positions when you're moving from one position to the other. You may also come across balancés in your centre practice. Now these can look quite complicated, but they're not really that complicated to do. If you just think of it as a 3, so you'll drop your weight down on the 1, take the weight onto the other leg, 2, and then drop back down again on 3. So if I put my hands on my waist, you'll have down, or 1, 2, 3. And you'll see that I'm stretching my foot before I land on that leg. I'm keeping my other foot nice and close to the other leg. So it's quite a small step and underneath you, certainly when you first start learning balancés. You can of course add the arms, and again there's lots of different arms that you can have with balancés. I tend to have them in the 3rd position this way, and then changing when I move over onto the other leg. You could also do an arabesque. So arabesque is really about the line. So when you first start learning, it is likely that you'll just keep your foot on the floor. So if we were looking at the first arabesque, if I'm standing on my left leg, then I'm going to have my left arm in front of me this way. I keep this front arm right in front of my nose, lifting my chin. So my chin and my arm are in the same line. My other arm, I'm going to just open it slightly from my shoulder. So it's not directly to the side of me. I just open it ever so slightly, just so it opens up the side of the face. From here, the back leg is extended behind you, and it is so important in your arabesque that you really lift up in the front of your stomach. And there's always a connection between your fingertip coming all the way down and then through to your foot at the back. As you start to build up, you can then of course lift the leg. So from here, you will lift the leg behind you, and it is important that as you lift the leg, you continue to lift up in the front of the stomach. Tip 6 in my basic ballet for beginners is looking at jumps. You will have a sauté in 1st position. So you start in the 1st position. I will just have my arms in bras barre. Take a demi-plie, jump in the air and land back down in the 1st position. You will also have an échappé. Now échappé means to escape, so I'm going to start it in the 3rd position with my hands on my waist. From here, you're going to keep your legs together for the start of the jump, and then they open out in the air and you land in the second position. From here, you go back again and close. And it's possible to do a series of échappés. You will also have what is called a glissade. So I'm going to start with my right foot behind in the fifth position, take a demi-plie, extend the back leg out to the side, and then bring the other foot in front. So for this particular glissade, I've kept the same leg at the front. And this is often used as a preparation into other jumps. So starting again with my right leg behind, keeping my arm in bras barre, extending my right leg out to the side, stretching the other foot and coming in. The main thing to remember with a glissade is that it shouldn't go up and down, and it should try and stay all on one level. Tip 7 in my Basic Ballet for Beginners is what to wear and what to bring to your ballet class. Let's first think about what to wear. Of course, you want to be comfortable when you're attending your ballet classes, but I would encourage you to wear something that's quite tight-fitted. It's much easier for the teacher to see your alignment and see your line if you're wearing something that's quite tight-fitted. Ladies, you can of course wear a skirt, which can be quite nice to wear to ballet class, and I would encourage you to have your hair off your face. It doesn't have to be in a really tight bun, but it is good if it's just off your face, so again the teacher can see you when you're doing your ballet class. You should have your ballet shoes with you, and just plain flat ballet shoes are absolutely fine for your ballet class. Make sure that the elastics are sewn on correctly and that your drawstrings are pulled up nice and tight, and you can simply just tuck them underneath the ballet shoes so it's nice and neat. I sometimes wear ankle warmers or leg warmers just to start at the bar, just making sure that I'm nice and warm before I get started, but it's really up to you. Make sure that that it's tight fitted. You don't want anything baggy or anything that can catch you underneath your heel when you're trying to do your ballet class. But ankle warmers and leg warmers are quite a nice thing to wear. I generally have something warm that I wear to start with, and then usually when you get nice and warm after your pliés, then you can start to take some of your layers off. Other things to bring to the ballet class, I mean, obviously you want a nice bottle of water to keep you hydrated whilst you're dancing. I tend to encourage the students to bring a small towel, especially if they're prone to sweat quite a lot. It's quite common to be able to just wipe the bar after you've finished, or wipe your own sweat off. So just a small towel in your ballet bag is quite useful to have. I always tell my students to have a notebook and pen, and I would encourage you to have the same, because at the end of the class, if there's anything that the teacher has said to you that you think, oh, that really has helped me, it's always best to write it down straight away. Then you can refer back to it before your next class, or of course later on that day. Other things that you might have in your ballet class, if you do exercises before your ballet class, then you might want all your exercise balls. There's quite a few different few that you can have, or maybe you might have a clingy band as well. And if you're doing exercises before your class, then you can sometimes have an exercise mat, or even just a big towel to lie on. Remember, some of the dance studio floors can have rosin and they can not always be that clean, so I would definitely do your exercises on an exercise mat or on a towel. You might come across these big bolsters with lots of ballet students. They come in all different sizes, but they can be really good if your muscles are feeling quite tight. You can roll out your muscles on the bolster roll. But again, it's only extras. You don't really need these in your ballet bag if you don't want them. I think the main thing really is that you have your ballet shoes and that you're wearing something that you feel nice and comfortable in and that is quite tight fitted. Tip 8 in my Basic Ballet for Beginners is Ballet Terminology. Plié means to bend. Tendu means to stretch, and remember, with battement tendu, you need to keep your foot on the floor. Rond de jambe is a circular movement with the leg. Battement fondu means to melt, A battement frappé means to strike. A développé means to unfold. And a grand battement is a throwing action of the leg. Tip 9 in my basic ballet for beginners is basic direction terminology. We have devant, which means in front, à la seconde, which means to the side, derrière, which means behind. We have en croix, which is basically a cross shape. So if your teacher asks you to do a battement tendu en croix, then they mean to do the battement tendu to the front, to the side, to the back, and then to the side again. You have à terre, which basically means the working foot stays in contact with the floor. You have en avant, which means travelling forwards. You have en arrière, which means travelling backwards. And you have de côté, which means travelling sideways. You have sur place, which means on the spot. And of course you have en face, which means facing the front. If you would like more in-depth, you also have a Barre position. Now, this is where the arms are in relaxed, oh no, they're not relaxed. Sorry, can I start again?
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
I think the plus position. I'm going to run out of more figures. Tip 4 in my basic ballet for beginners is the main, stop, just let it roll. Tip 5 in my ballet, just leave it.
We just carry on.
Is that you have your ballet shoes and that you're wearing something that you feel nice and comfortable in and that is quite tight fitted. Is it really obvious the balls roll? Thank you for watching, and I hope that you have found this video useful. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, then you can subscribe by clicking the icon below. The full-length videos can be found at my website, tipsonballettechnique.com. You can also choose your next video by clicking from the selection here. Thank you, and I hope to see you soon.